Okay? So let's go over to, let's go to number 2. And then we'll jump around. Hopefully we can do like one, at least one, maybe 2, to help you guys out with some homework, okay? Alright, so number 2. My function is now changed. Okay? F of x, let's highlight this together. F of x is that. Do you see how it labeled it? F of x is equal to the absolute value of x. So another way that I could write g of x is basically my original, then minus 3. Okay? Here we go. The domain. First of all, let's graph some points first. Okay? Let's graph -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. Those are always good points to start. And sometimes, like I'm a little lazy, I might not go to -3, but I at least do -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. Negative over and over on all these that we're about to look at. Okay, not just today, but in the next several units. Alright. So if I put in a -3 into my g of x function, everywhere where x is located, what I'm really doing when I plug in -3 is it looks like this. Let me build the function. Remember when we did function notation and compositions? We're inputting an x value that is -3. Okay, here we go. Aaron, what would I get just from this piece? 3. Now I still have to do this leftover part. And anyone, what would my answer be? 0. Okay, and now go ahead and plot it. -3, 0. Alexia, what if I put -2 in? Alexia, what would I get? If I put -2 into the equation, what would I get as a final answer? Let's put it first. Let's write it out, okay? So I'm building this like this, and what I'm going to plug in, Alexia, is a -2, where x goes. Okay? Alexia, what do I get for that piece right there? What would I get, Joel?
1.
Okay, for a total answer, I would get. I'm just talking about just this piece right here. We have to absolute value -2 first. So anyone say it out loud?
2.
I would get 2. Because absolute value makes everything what? Positive. Everything on the inside, it will come out as a positive. You with me? Okay. So if I write down +2, and I still have to subtract 3 from my answer, it's like a 2-step process. Now, anyone, what would I get as a final answer? -1. Okay? Alright, so I want this in 2 steps. Let's first put the -1 in the absolute value, tell me what you get, and then subtract 3, and then tell me what the final answer is. Okay? So Sarah, let's plug in -1 in where x is located. What would I get? I would get a +1. And then when I subtract this negative, or when I subtract that 3, what would I get? -2. Okay? Nice. Nate, let's plug in 0. What do I get? -3 as a final answer though, right? But let's do it in 2 steps, just for instructional purposes. What's the absolute value of 0? 0. And then subtracting 3, you're absolutely right. Madeline, we're going to plug in this +1 now into the absolute value. Just for the absolute value piece, Madeline, what do I get? 1. Now subtract the 3, whoops, and what would you end up with? -2. And everyone, what are these last 2 numbers going to be? -1 and 0. So let's graph these. Negative 3, 0. Negative 2, negative 1. 1, negative 2. 0, negative 3. 1, negative 2. 2, negative 1. And 3, 0. So my graph looks something like this. Okay, here we go. Anyone can say it out loud. Don't worry about raising your hand. What's the domain? Negative infinity to infinity. And someone else said all real numbers. Okay. What's, yes? Oh, I just want you to put both just for the practice. So the ones that I'm really looking for are interval and inequality. Whoops. Okay. The set notation, remember it, but not for right now. I'm not really concentrating on that. Okay. All right, here we go. The range. Anyone? What's the range in interval notation? 0 to infinity. Parentheses or brackets? What goes on 0? Parentheses or bracket? Bracket, because I'm touching 0. Oh, it's not 0 to infinity, is it? There we go. It's negative 3. Nice catch. It's negative 3 to infinity, because the lowest that it will go is y equals negative 3. That's the lowest that it went, and it touched. And because it touched, we close it up. Okay? All right. Let's write that in inequality notation. How would I write that? Y is greater than or equal to negative 3. Remember, don't put that infinity stuff with those inequalities anymore. Okay, I will deduct points going forward. All right. X-intercepts. Immediately, you should be thinking what? Y equals 0. Guys, when does y equal 0? At negative 3 and positive 3. So look, you can do it like this. Negative 3 and positive 3. Or you could do it like this. Plus or minus 3. You see what I'm doing? And the last thing that you could do it if you wanted to, you could list out the points. You could say 3, 0 and negative 3, 0. Good? Know them all, okay? All right. Y-intercepts. Immediately, x equals 0. What's my y value when x equals 0? Negative 3. But I need to write it as what? Y equals negative 3. Guys, if you just put negative 3 on the quiz, I will deduct points. Because I don't know if you're talking about an x or a y. Okay? So please make sure you're very descriptive of exactly what you're saying. How about if I did that as a point? What would that look like? 0, negative 3. Okay. Anna, where's our axis of symmetry? X equals 0. It is still right in the middle, and it did not shift left or to the right. Are we good? Brittany, what's our vertex now? 0, negative 3. Catherine, did we just experience a max or a min? A minimum. And watch, I'm going to put the minimum is y equals what, Catherine? Negative 3. This is the minimum. Go with me? If I put it like this, if I put it like the point, You could do this and get full credit, but I'm afraid that you're not going to understand that it's the y value if you put the point. I'm afraid that you're going to think it's a point, and it's not. It's not the point. It's the y value at that point. Okay? It'll make calculus a lot easier in 2 years. Yeah, so let's circle min. And the slopes. Are the slopes still the same, -1 and 1? Yes. So we're going to put m equals -1 on -infinity to 0. M equals 1 on 0 to infinity. And again, that does not exist. That's just an extra extension. You don't necessarily have to list it out. I'm more so concerned with the positive and the -1. But you guys are killing it, so I'm going to put does not exist at x is equal to 0. All right, transformations. Transformations is basically, to me, I just imagine like I'm playing with clay or Play-Doh. Back in kindergarten or whatever, when you're playing with Play-Doh, you're just transforming things into different shapes. Okay? The original piece right here came from the original function. And to me, what I imagine, this original is like the original piece of clay that you got when you pulled it out of its container. If you can remember, this shape, this cylindrical shape, is the original one that I imagine. And when I pull it out of its container and I mess with it, and I make like, I don't know, a bird, I just transformed it. You with me? So this bird is this graph here. And you tell me, how did this transform from the original? What happened? It shifted, or it moved. The word that I'm looking for is shifted 3 units down. So shifted 3 units down. And you could put like a down arrow if you want. Okay? The word that we're ultimately going to use starting tomorrow instead of shift, yep, it translates. And not translates like English to Spanish or German or whatever. This translates means it just shifted. Slide to the left, slide to the right, whatever. Okay? From all your homework problems that you now have in front of you, look at them for a little bit, and you tell me, which one do you want to do with me right now? Which one do you feel would be difficult? Yes, Brianna. Number 8. Let's go to number 8, guys. All right. G of x is going to multiply my input x value. This is a good choice too. My input x value by 1/2. So I have 2 choices. It'll either look like this, you with me? Or it would look like that. Thank you. Which one do y'all think it is? The first or the second one that I wrote down? It's the first one. This is huge as far as what changed. You with me? What changed is what it's all about. You will either change, guys, this is a huge unit talking about transformations. It's talking, you did this in geometry, like translations, dilations, reflections, and all kinds of stuff. And you had like a triangle ABC with its transformation of A prime, B prime, C prime. Okay, but now you're going to do it to these points. Oh, you could just leave that out for now. Okay, yeah, just come on in. All right, here we go. So let's check some points. I'm going to jump around just a little bit. And I'm going to pick numbers that I can multiply by 1/2. You with me? Here we go. I'm going to pick -2, -4, and -6. I'm going to pick 2, 4, and 6. You'll see where I'm going with this? Yeah.
So when you're doing these graphs, you don't have to stick to the negative.
Yeah, you don't have to stick to -2, -1, 0, -1, 0, 1, and 2. I think you need to look at what you're doing and start thinking about it in your head. What numbers should I be picking? Now here's the thing. Can you always pick -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2? Yes. But it won't be as easy to see what the graph is doing because you have a lot of fractions and decimals and stuff like that. You won't clean whole integers. Okay? So anyone, when I plug this number in, what's first going to happen to this -6? It will multiply by 1/2, right? What do I get? -3. The second step that happens, is going to be this step right here. So I have a -3 right now, but after the absolute value is applied, what would I have? A +3, right? So it'll be a +3. There we go. -4 times 1/2 is a -2. I absolute value that, and I get a +2. You with me? Michael, do the next one. -1. Perfect. Just like that. Joel, do the next one. It would be 0, but do the steps real quick. Perfect. That's exactly how I want you thinking about it, okay? As you go through it. Toribio, let's do 2, a +2. Okay, so he got the right answer, but there was one thing that he said that was actually incorrect. He said divided by 1/2. That is a common mistake. He's not alone. A lot of people say that same thing. If you divide it by 1/2, it's the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. So be careful of how you say it, because he could have said one of two things: multiply by 1/2 or multiply by 1/2 or divided by what? 2. Okay? So this right here is dividing by 2. Cool? Alright. So yes, he was right. You do get a 1 at the end. What would I get after 4? 2. What would I get after 6? 3. Go with me? So let's plot them. -6, +3. Then -4, 2. -2, 1. 0, 0. 2, 1. 4, 2. And 6, 3. Alright, this is definitely different than what the easy shift that we did before was, right? Here we go. Anyone, what's the domain? All real numbers. And you could put interval notation if you want. Okay? What's the range? Y is greater than 0 or equal to, right? Or interval notation? 0 to infinity. Infinity is always parentheses, but you tell me, bracket or parentheses at 0? Bracket, because why? It touches 0. Y equals 0. Okay? X-intercepts. Immediately, Y equals 0. Where does that occur? At X equals 0. Now we're getting it. Y-intercepts. Immediately, X equals 0. And where is that happening? At Y is equal to 0. Don't let that confuse you. That's why I'm trying to go with this immediately thing. Anna, what's the axis of symmetry? X equals 0. It did not change. It didn't shift left or right. Like it could have been a graph that was way down here. And we're going to see all kinds of different graphs and stuff. Vertex. Brittany, what's the vertex? 0, 0. Catherine, max or min? minimum, and it occurred at what? What would you write on the quiz? Y is equal to 0. Perfect. Okay. Tyson, what are the slopes? This is when it's different. This is why I'm glad Brianna chose this, because this is different. So let's say on negative infinity all the way to 0, which is right here, on that interval, Tyson, what is the slope of this line? Help him out, Sima.
Oh, just the gray line?
Close. Just the blue line that I graphed right here. What's the slope of that? Negative 1/2. Down 1 over 2. Down 1 over 2. Y'all with me? So it's going to be m equals negative 1/2 on negative infinity to 0. Daxon, what's the slope after that? Well, this one is, yeah, this one is. But I'm saying, like, now go to 0 to infinity. Positive 1 over 2. Yep. M is equal to positive 1 over 2 on 0 to infinity. And everyone, at 0, what's the slope? Does not exist. At x is equal to 0. All right. This transformation is a little bit different. How did this graph change? It opened up, the slope changed. Now I will give you a choice and you pick. Did it change? Did it change horizontally or did it change vertically? You could say both. You could actually say both. It looked like a vertical compression, a vertical squish, because it made the graph do this, because there's a lot of weight on it vertically. But also some of you could say it was a horizontal stretch that made it do that. You with me? Because it was with the x, it's going to be horizontal. You're going to learn this a lot next class for sure. If it's y, then it's vertical. So here's my question to you. The biggest question so far right now is, how do you know if it's with x? And how do you know if it's with y?
It's inside.
If it's inside the parentheses where x is located, it's going to be x. If it's outside of that parentheses, it's going to be y. So our original equation today, guys, was this. This is huge. Anything inside with x will be all in here. Okay? And everything on the outside would be in front or out here. That's how you know if it's horizontal or vertical. So I'm giving you a little prelude into next class, transformations. Go with me? Now here's the best thing that I can say for you to remember and learn it fast. If it's with the x, I'm going to put like x, like your x. It's the opposite of what you think. If it's y, you follow the rule. Okay? So if it's the x, it kind of makes sense. Your x is your x because you were doing the opposite. Okay? But if it's not with the x, you follow the rule of what it looks like. You with me? So here's what I'm going to say. This 1/2, you're going to learn next class, it's not a horizontal compression by 1/2. It's actually a horizontal stretch by 2. And you'll learn this next class. Okay, so let's go ahead and put that. Horizontal stretch by the reciprocal of 1/2, which is by a factor of 2. Any questions before I stop the video? Awesome job, guys. There's a lot that you're going to learn this unit for sure. A lot of important stuff this unit. A lot. And I think it's still even easier than last unit, okay? So make sure you do your homework. Please have it ready for next class.